According to Merriam Webster, the word homologation means sanctioning or allowing. But what does she know? That's certainly not what we mean when we use the term homologation car. So I looked up Merriam Webster's phone number, I called her, and I told Merriam she was wrong. She said, and I quote, "Jason, you're a up." Well, that was harsh. Obviously, Merriam Webster isn't a person, it's two people. Peggy Josephine Merriam and Arthur Mariah Webster were actually correct. In the wider sense, homologation is simply the process a car manufacturer goes through to certify that the car meets all requirements for legal sale. In other words, every car on the road is homologated for sale. But when we say something is a homologation car or a homologation special, those terms refer not to homologation for sales, but instead homologation for racing. Throughout history, the sanctioning bodies who govern racing have included a requirement that a certain number of street cars be produced in a spec similar to the race cars. This separated production cars from cost no object, no compromise, purpose-built race cars like Formula One, making room for road car racing. Not only is that more interesting for spectators because we get to see all sorts of familiar shapes on the circuit, but it encouraged participation from car manufacturers. After all, what's more likely to sell you a car? Some single-seat rocket ship that looks nothing like your hatchback? Or watching a Subaru Impreza fly sideways through the woods at 150 miles an hour? Damn it, suddenly I want a WRX. It works every time. Obviously, the biggest beneficiaries of the homologation rules were us, because it forced car companies to build the types of cars that would never, ever make it through the normal product planning cycle. Did you really think some nerd in the accounting department at Dodge would have allowed someone to yank a wing off of Amelia Earhart's wrecked plane and then crazy glue it to the back of a Dodge Charger? No, and try getting that nose cone over a parking curb. Normal engineering rules would have never allowed either, but the NASCAR team needed the aero advantage, so 503 lucky people got to buy a Dodge Charger Daytona and drive around scraping the nose of what is unquestionably one of the coolest cars of all time. Same wing, same thing for the 502 people who bought a Mercedes 190E Evo 2. That was a homologation requirement for FIA Group A, which granted access to things like touring car and DTM. Touring car racing was, by the way, some of the most watched racing of all time. These days, sanctioning bodies have all but removed the road car homologation requirements, and so DTM, like NASCAR, is just a bunch of identical, purpose-built race cars driving around with fake bodies on them made to look like something we care about. And guess what? We don't. The list of the coolest cars of all time is flush with homologation specials, because these are precisely the cars that we want car companies to build, but they never would because they don't make any economic sense. Without the road-going homologation race car requirements, the only cars manufacturers build are those that make money. Even those two dictionary nerds know that the last thing you ever want to do to your car is something that makes financial sense. Ugh. And so I propose a new dictionary entry for homologation cars. Let's just call it cars that nearly bankrupt their manufacturer, make no sense to normal people, but make enthusiasts like me happy. Maybe Merriam was right. There is probably something wrong with me.
You're not an idiot. You know how this stuff works. Like, subscribe, comment, and don't forget to check out the Hagerty Drivers Club.